Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining our session today about the ROI of the SOC, how to prove the value of security operations. We are so happy to be hosting our very good partner, G-Secure, with us today. So I am hoping that all of you guys are ready for some really interesting information and demo. So in general, I would like to refer you all, if you have any questions during the session, just to put them in the Q&A tab, and then we will take them in the end. And we will also be recording this session, just so you all know. And if you have any technical issues, just put them in the chat function. I will be able to see them during the session. And then I will not take any more of your time. I will hand it over to a lot more capable hands than mine. So that will be Harish from G-Secure and my good colleague Mike from Logpoint. So Harish, take it from here.
Thanks, Geeta. And let me share my screen. Is my screen visible?
Yeah, yes, you're not in presentation mode, but yes.
Yeah, perfect.
There we go.
So thanks everyone for joining today in this webinar regarding the ROI of the SOC or security operations and overall. And me and my partner colleague here, Mike, we will try to just discuss this topic with you that few things, what exactly an ROI of the SOC should be. And are we measuring today the ROI of the security operations effectively, or we are just using the traditional way of looking at the SOC operation and its cost all around? So the agenda would be to understand why this topic matters, why we have chosen this topic to discuss what are the real challenges in the SOC operations overall when it comes to running a full-fledged security operations, and with the current trend of cybersecurity which we see, what should be the key metrics that matter for SOC, measuring SOC return on investments, and how to align SOC strategy with the business goals. We would take a real life case as well, and hopefully we will have some key takeaways from this webinar. So why it matters, first of all, why we need to discuss the ROI. The very important question which brings us to the very important aspect which brings us to this question is that no company has unlimited budgets for security. Everybody has limited money, resources to spend on security. And while the security in itself, the challenges are growing every day, there are a lot of new areas which are opening up, which are posing challenge. There are a lot of attacks which are growing in an exponential way. Endless spent of money and resource on cybersecurity operations cannot be possible by any organization. So how to use that money effectively and show the leadership team that the security operations, the way it is being organized, is actually working in a way it should. Now we all have seen how, and whenever we talk about security operations, or whenever there is a board level presentation related to cybersecurity operations, what is being discussed? Most of the time, the dashboards of the security operations panels, or it is on their presentation. How many number of alerts we have handled this week? How many number of alerts we have handled last month? And how the number of alerts have been growing over the period of time? And how many more resources we need to handle these alerts? Whereas 90% of the times, those alerts which we get, 90% of them are false positives. They are not actually a genuine incident. And what leaves it with it from the CISO's perspective, or the information security officer's perspective, he has an overworked security team, because they are paying equal attention to each and every alert which they are getting through their tooling, which could be their security information event management, SIM or SOAR, or whatever tools have been used for the cybersecurity operations. Every time they are any alerts pops up and the security teams start uh, exploring why it has happened, what we have lost. This leaves them with an alert fatigue. They are always overworked. And the major question which comes along with this question is that all this investment, all this tooling, all the manpower, all the training which has been incorporated in running the security operations, is it really reducing the risk? Or what we see is just a noisy dashboard? Now, in order to understand this question more effectively, we need to see what exactly are the reasons. Why is this SOC always looks so busy? Why the security operations always look so into the into any kind of action? But we always think there are very less people working. We need more people. We need more resources. We need more hours to solve them. First of all, there are enormous load of alerts, lack of policy mapping with the real business impact, lack of business context, what exactly should be watched for, what exactly should be handled by a SOC team, which actually results in high operational cost. The balance between reactive and proactive approach is always more tilted towards reactive rather than being proactive, which again involves a lot of incidents and which resulting in a lot of activities by the SOC team. So these are the four areas. Now, the key when it comes to key word which we need to always keep in mind while dealing with this problem is prioritization, orchestrate prioritization of alerts. Why the business context is important here, that the business context can only guide us that what is the most critical elements, what are the most critical elements for business, what can impact it's like if I have to give you an analogy, it would be like in hospital treating all the patients with the same severity. That would definitely result in lot more casualties if they will prioritize, like we see in hospital there are emergency rooms, there are uh, normal patients rooms, so there is a different way of treating of both of these kind of patients. In the same way, when it comes to incidents, there has to be a prioritization, there has to be understanding which will cause more impact on the business, what actually business needs to keep itself running, what can wait and what needs immediate attention. At the same time, the fine balance between reactive and proactive approach is absolutely necessary. Now, what should be, now these are the problem statements which we have been talking, that what exactly the traditional way of doing that, that the number of alerts or number of incidents is directly proportional to the efficiency of SOC. What exactly matters to the business? What should be the key metrics? And here we have to make sure that the tools which are being used in security operations as well as the team are aligned with each other. The tool should have the capability to measure these metrics, which can be presented, because the top leadership, they do not understand the severity of the alerts or the technicality of the alerts, or for them what matters is how much incident, what is the incident containment rate, what was the mean time to detect an incident, what was the mean time to respond to an incident, what is the threat hunting efficiency, and how does it overall impacts the business metrics, like how much money we have saved by stopping incident on the right time, first of all detecting them on the right time, containing them, responding to them on the right time, how much we have how much threat has been thwarted by active threat hunting so that the incident should not happen in the first place. This could that could be translated into direct monetary damages as well as the business reputation damage which can cause by such incidents. So this is the language which the leadership understands, and this is the language which the board of directors understands, that's why we are spending money on security, and that's what we are getting out of it. So instead of showing that noisy dashboard which shows hundreds and thousands of alerts being generated, and the SOC team is working day and night to work on those incidents, to solve those incidents, if they could be shown the direct business translation of these alerts, how and what we have really saved from the business perspective, how much downtime we have saved, how much monetary losses which we have saved. For example, if this ransomware could not have been contained in the right time, how much data loss could have happened, how much ransom could the company could have been asked for and to could have been forced to pay. So this is a very important aspect for the business teams as well as the security teams to get allied upon. And as I said, the efficiency of SOC team in doing this would always been based on what kind of tools they are being using. A right SIM tool and a right SOAR tool could definitely help in doing that, because each of these metrics, they often are based on the rules, the threat intelligence part of it, how much can be automated, because the kind of incidents happen today and the kind of rate at the rate the incidents happen, it is impossible for always to have a manual intervention to stop these kind of incidents or react to these kind of incidents. So automation is a key here. So the tool should support automation. The modern concept like user entity and behavior analytics, they play a very important role to form up a baseline, and so that any deviation from the baseline can trigger an alert that something is which is not normal. So the differentiation between normal and not normal has to be very clear. It should allow to conduct efficient threat hunting so that the security teams can take a deep dive into the logs and look for threat instead of waiting for them. And it should also should be able to translate the alignment or the what we call efficacy of the business elements to the overall security, that which are the mission critical assets which needs to be safeguarded all the times, which are the step 2, which are step 3, and which can wait a little bit till the mission critical statement critical assets could be taken care of. Now, I would invite Mike here to pitch in and see how a true SIM can help in this whole endeavor.
Absolutely. Thank you, Arish, for the introduction. So, hello, everyone. Mike Blomgren, pre-sales engineer with Logpoint. And just from my perspective, then, as Harish said, we need to understand the challenges and we need to speak the right language in that sense. And I like this view of understanding, getting a full picture of your environment and the security risks that you have. And the bottom line is that the more efficient you are in understanding and ingesting your log data, because CM tools is what we're speaking about here as one component in a SOC, is to be able to get a complete picture of the environment, get a complete picture of the risks within your environment. And the best way to do that from our perspective is to understand and see what is happening in your environment from multiple perspectives or multiple angles, as I'm trying to depict on this picture. The gist of this is the fact that when you combine, for example, your log sources with other together, it could be technical log sources such as Active Directory or Office 365 in the cloud. You might want to correlate that data with other log sources, such as your firewall, such as maybe your entrance system. If you have if you need to enter a building with a physical dongle or a card, you need to swipe your card, and correlate the entrance of an individual compared with where they actually log into the Active Directory. That could be one way of identifying a risky or risky behavior. And that's what I'm trying to show on in this picture here, where the perspective, meaning that we're looking at the same thing from different angles to get a complete picture of what is actually the truth, what is actually going on within our environment. And so if you continue, please, Harish. So looking at the two components that we are typically using is that we also like to correlate our log data with network detection. And one of the main reasons for network detection in conjunction with the SIEM tool is the fact that the network is typically contains much more of the truth, in the sense that it's much more difficult to evade being detected on a network versus being detected or avoid being detected in an application or in a system or log data, because log data can always be manipulated, whereas network data is fairly difficult in that sense to evade. Even though I'm aware of multiple ways to do it, but they're not the typical. One of the things that we also see from a generic Logpoint perspective is the philosophy of living off the land, or LOLBAS as the abbreviation is. But that means that many of the threat actors that we see today, they actually use components that are already installed in the customer's environment, which means it makes it even more difficult to detect such threats. And this also makes it more important that you understand your environment, understand what's happening on the network, and understand what's happening in your applications then. So in that sense, you want to collect all the components that are true from an identification perspective, and try to see the whole truth in this sense, and by utilizing a SIEM or the Logpoint SIEM platform to be able to at least detect the risks that are prevalent in your organization. And this is one part of it. And then if you next slide, please. You can click all three of them. So these are three of the components or the capabilities that most organizations need to manage, where you need to be able to respond to incident, respond to risks that are identified. You need to detect them, of course, whether you're using network probes, whether you're using EDR services, whether you're using a SIEM solution, you need to be able to detect them in some way. And then, as Harish was speaking of earlier, we need to do threat hunting as well, or investigation on what is actually the root cause of this particular incident. And how do we manage the threat hunting in an efficient way? Because as we're short of resources, both monetary and when it comes to employees, we need to be as efficient as possible then. So from a Logpoint perspective, when it comes to respond, we have done a quite extensive development with many of the common platforms where we ingest log data from them. I've just put one example here with the Microsoft Cloud integration, where we have one single view of what's going on, regardless of which Microsoft source or service you're using. They have a number of them where you can extract the data from. But we've built an integration for that as one example. And then also correlation of log sources to be able to respond to incidents that have been detected. And when it comes to detect, a lot of the rule set that we provide out of the box can be modified, of course, according to customer needs and your needs. And they can also be customized so to the fact that you can actually use them as a foundation for your own sort of calculations on when it comes to mean time to detect and mean time to remediate then. But we provide most of those alert rules sort of out of the box already. And we also provide the means to do what I would call log source correlation. So in the sense where you can look at multiple log sources, identify risky behavior based off of maybe 2 or 3 different log sources, but together aggregated, they would imply that there is some risky behavior in the environment. This is also something that we're working extremely heavily on as we speak, and is likely to be launched towards the end of this year, where we are going to visualize this in an even more clearer way and a better way than we're doing today. We can still do it, but it's about the visualization that needs to be understood and sort of defined. But there has been a substantial development going on into the correlation and visualization of the threats and risks within your environment. When it comes to investigation, again, as Harish already mentioned, automation is one of the key tools. Since about 3 years ago, we do include an automation engine within the Logpoint platform. And the automation engine here means that we can identify risky behavior, for one, and then once we do that, the SOAR engine, the automation engine, can kick in and do its investigation, possibly pull external data from external log sources to verify this risk that was identified. Is this actually a risk or not? And the objective here is to be able to, in an automated way, either raise the risk level for this detected incident, or possibly even close the incident, saying that no, this was a suspicious behavior, but we can close it so we don't overburden the analysts with manual labor instead. So we can automatically close this. And any of those playbooks that kick in, they will always be documented automatically as well, all the steps. You can always revert back and see if there was something that was missed during the investigation, or something that needs to be modified at a later stage as well. So you always have a history of the automation engine. And I think one key component here as well is when it comes to automation, it works 24/7, and not all SOCs have personnel 24/7. Not all organizations definitely don't. And once you've started implementing the automation engine, then this actually does work 24/7. And it also means that you will follow, the playbooks will always follow the same process, which means you remove sort of the dependence on individuals who are maybe tech savvy on certain areas when it comes to threat hunting, but instead rely on a playbook. You know, you will have a consistent action when this occurs. You will have consistent actions every single time that playbook runs as well. Then, so there's a lot of good things in the SOAR toolbook or SOAR toolbox when running the playbooks that will assist in remediating and investigating, and also possibly closing tickets, which means you can close them quicker automatically, and that will also remove the number of false positives that may be sent up to an analyst as well. And also a very important component when it comes to investigation is the API orchestration as well. And this means that we can integrate with, if there is an API, we can integrate with it. More or less anyway. We have a number of predefined APIs that we can utilize in our automation engine to query, for example, Office 365, to query your firewalls and anti-spam solutions and what they may be. EDR solutions are extremely important today as well. And that means that we can also not only request information from these components, but we can also take action. So if you identify a client that has, for example, is using an EDR product, you detect that it is doing something malicious that the EDR component itself hasn't detected. If the log sources in SIEM say that this is actually suspicious behavior, maybe using living off the land components, so built-in tools already that is suspicious, then you could, through the API, you can also then potentially isolate or quarantine a specific host through the API integration using an external third-party EDR solution, for example. So the APIs, in all fairness, they give you a lot of flexibility and a lot of good integrations and ways to become more efficient in your SOC work. However, it does have a cost in that sense that there is a learning step to understand this SOAR orchestration and how to configure that. But that's where Harish and his team and G-Secure come into play as well, because they have the expertise around this and can assist with that. Plus as well us from Logpoint then. But these are the sort of the main components: respond, detect, and investigate. And for those of you familiar with Logpoint, there was a recent release 7.6 where we have essentially only focused on features that will assist you as a customer of Logpoint or G-Secure to use Logpoint in an efficient way, get up to running much quicker than we could previously. And also you have a lot of built-in tools to help you from day one. So you essentially start a deployment and start getting value from day one, which also then of course helps in gaining back the return on investment, of course, that you're making then as well. So that's essentially what Logpoint is about, to be able to be an efficient detection tool and also remediation tool then.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike, for your key inputs and to introduction how Logpoint helps in the core issue which we are talking about. So aligning the SOC strategy today with business goal is of very paramount importance, because it's not like the traditional way of doing. Initially, when security operations was orchestrated, was bring into the picture, it was security teams took a pride in generating more and more alerts and getting more and more incidents to handle, and to show that how much important it is to detect each and everything which we which we come across, and to analyze these incidents. And but they are that's not no longer the case, because this is an endless game. The security incidents will keep on increasing, and they will not only increasing from 10 to 20%, but they are increasing from 100 to 200% growth year on year. So it would be never possible for security teams to match up with the number of incidents growing. So the idea is to align the SOC strategy with the business goal, so that the business team understand the importance of security operations. The team understands uh, how the SOC helps them to not only, I mean, there is a way, the perspective of looking at a security operations as a cost center, but it's not always true. The amount of money which can be saved by security operations, the amount of reputational damage which is saved by security operation should be visible to everyone within the organization, should be visible to the top brass of the organization, to make them aware that it's not only monitoring, detecting, and responding, but it is managing the overall risk within the organization. So to make sure that it gets aligned with the business goal, it is very important to first identify mission critical applications and how much they are important for the organization, and how much cost and how much business damage can be saved if we focus on those mission critical applications and services, and keep them secured all the time. The operational resilience is a very important task to manage. When I say resilience, it's so there is a perspective that it's as it's said in the security language always, that some organization know that they are hacked and some organization don't know they are hacked, but every organization is hacked in a way. So the operational resilience is to the way the narrative has changed, that you would be hacked for sure. When is the question? So resilience is to be ready to encounter that hack, encounter that intrusion, encounter that incident which will cause damage, and to get on the feet as soon as possible again. Prioritization is the keyword always. Once we know what is critical for the business, then we know what to prioritize and what needs to be kept first when it comes to stopping incidents. And of course, the balance between proactive threat hunting and reactive incident response has to be more accurate. The proactive should take the top seat, and the reactive should is of course necessary when it happens, but more the proactive threat hunting would be encouraged within security teams, like we do in G Secure Labs. Is more we have to face the reactive incident response. Uh, a case where it's a very classic case, there was a retail organization which we have been dealing with, and it was a huge from the volume perspective, it was a lot of things to monitor, and it was over 500,000 alerts which were getting generated on a weekly basis. Regardless, to say 75.5% of them were either false positive, or the incidents with a very very less impact. But of course, the security team was busy in responding to these incidents, attending to these incidents, analyzing these incidents, which was an endless game. With the changes with respect to finding out what exactly is critical for this business, and doing a lot of automation when in terms of investigation, as Mike was alluding to, that with the investigation and making those pre-made playbooks, we kind of brought down the whole SOC cost to 50% what they were already spending. The mean time to detect improved from 10 hours to 30 minutes, and the false positives were reduced by 65%. you cannot imagine the saving which was unrealized before. It was over $2 million which could have been saved. So this was the real, these are just making it more efficiency. It's not like completely overhauling anything, or it's not like completely changing the overall security operation. Is just making it more efficient by adopting the modern methods, by adopting the right, but using the right metrics to measure the SOC's efficiency, to measure the SOC's way of working, and more importantly, adopting a risk-based approach, impact-based approach, rather than just sounding or counting the number of alerts. So the ordeal is to make SOC more efficient rather than busy. So I would say the success for the right SOC is to adopt right metrics to measure it, risk reduction, not alert count, which will help you into a better efficiency in decision making. So running a SOC is no longer a game which it was, let's say 10 years back, where it was just an activity of monitoring, detecting response. A lot of alignment, lot of calculation is required, lot of automation is required, because that's the key to success. More we can automate, and more as Ken Revins once said, that the heroics cannot be scaled. So of course, the more we were efficient in handling, the more important incidents can be given time to, more proactiveness can be adopted. Automation gives the real security team time to do these activities, be more proactive, be more do more threat hunting, if we can automate the obvious tasks. So overall, the business aligned security is what we are trying to achieve here, uh, to get everybody's buy-in for the security team, that yes, it is efficient to invest in a security team. It is efficient to invest in security operations team and the tools which they need. So to summarize, I would say the SOC ROI is not numbers game. It's not to show how much alerts, how much volume is being handled by the SOC. It's true meaning is to show the risk reduction and of the organization, and how much money could have been saved by adopting these things. The key metrics, like how much time to detect, how much time to respond, what is the containment rate, are they are not just the metrics, but they are the real measurement of the SOC's effectiveness. AI and automation, as they are playing important role in any other industry, they are equally important in cybersecurity space as well, especially when it comes to automating and using threat intelligence within the log feeds. So the future ready security operation is, as it's say, that security is not in practice. It's security is not in beginning. It's a continuous process. It has to continuously improvise. Today we are maybe we're talking about these metrics. Maybe there could be some other metrics which becomes more important in the coming future. So it's a continuous process, and we have to keep evolving, and because the the hackers are not sleeping, so security teams also cannot sleep. But I'll just leave you with these thoughts, and if you have any questions, we are happy to answer it.
Yeah, thank you so much, both Harish and Mike. This has been really insightful. I see so far at least one question coming in. So, and I think this one might be for Mike. So, how does Logpoint visually show risks?
Good question. Thanks, Gitte. So one of the key components within Logpoint, I'd say, when it comes to showing risks, is something that we are not we haven't developed. It's something called the MITRE ATT&CK framework, and this is based from if I'm not mistaken, a US organization. They also manage the CVE database, so common vulnerabilities and exposures. And the MITRE ATT&CK framework is essentially a matrix where you can visualize where do we have risks within our organization. And what Logpoint has done then is taken that matrix And then we have developed the alert rules that I was speaking of earlier. So you can map those identifications on an alert rule. Where in my organization do I have a risk? And then you can chart out sort of your own matrix based off of the risks and identifications in your organization. And it's not difficult to understand the matrix. Maybe many participants understand or know of the matrix per se, but I find when speaking to customers, especially on sort of the techie level, and if they can explain the MitraTech framework higher up in the organization, it's really a simple tool to show for anyone on the board level, sort of, that this is the MitraTech frameworks for how attacks progress. This is where we have identifications within that framework, which means we need to maybe adjust our policies. We need to invest further into technical solutions and tooling, as Harish mentioned. Or you might say that it's a blank page, which means, okay, we're good. We don't have any risks in our organization. Not that that ever would happen, but that's essentially what could happen. So the MitraTech framework population, if you will, that is also built in as one of the tools that Harish has spoken about today, and it's built into Logpoint already.
Okay, thank you so much, Mike. Really good question. I know sometimes for these kind of sessions, it can always be tricky to come up with the really good question. And for me personally, it always comes up right after I hit leave. So if any of you experience the same thing, feel free to always reach out to either Mike at Logpoint, me, myself, Gitte, or Harish with G-Secure. We are always happy to answer any questions and maybe do a more in-depth demo of a specific thing that you want to see. So feel free to reach out to us. And then thank you so much for joining today. It has been a privilege to have some time with all of you. And I wish all of you a pleasant day going forward. And then I hope we'll see you in the future. So thank you so much. And thank you, Harish and Mike, for spending the time with us.
Thank you, Gitte, for the
Thank you, Gitte.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.